2025 has been a very memorable year of movie releases, but as the year of 2025 comes to an end, we start to look forward to the movies that are coming up in the next year. And there are actually a good amount that I'm really looking forward to in 2026. We're going to talk about the movies that I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to also share my predictions of what these movies are going to possibly be like. A lot of these predictions I'm basing on the crew who's working on it, other movies that people working on certain movies have worked on in the past, and just kind of judging based on whatever instincts that I'm thinking. Anyways, they're just kind of like my predictions for what I think a movie's going to be like in the next year, and then when I watch the movie next year, we will see how close I come to how much I got right. We'll see. But first off, let's talk about one of the biggest movies I'm excited for in the next year, and that is the Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. My first prediction that I made and that I have written down is that although Christopher Nolan has tended to put out a lot of PG-13 movies, recently with his last film, Oppenheimer, he's been leaning more toward R-rated movies. And I would think based on the subject matter of the Odyssey, I don't know too much about it. I don't think I've even read it. I'm not too familiar with the story, but I have a feeling that it's probably going to be rated R. The cast listing that I'm seeing so far is absolutely stacked. Like, so many incredible actors. So the acting is most likely just going to be phenomenal. The cinematography is probably going to be amazing. The production design could swing either way, seeing as the production designer for this film's works lean a lot more toward Western looking designs from the other movies. The visual effects are going to be amazing. The soundtrack score should be really good, seeing as it's being composed by Ludwig Göransson. And Christopher Nolan's been getting Ludwig for his most recent films, Tenet, Oppenheimer, and both of those soundtracks are incredible, so I feel like he'll cook up something fresh and something that'll be really cool. The costume design should be fine. At best, it'll probably be very time period accurate, but I'm not really expecting anything like super over the top. I think it's going to be more along the lines of maybe Gladiator or something like that, but that's just my guess. Next, possibly my most anticipated movie of 2026, and that is Dune Part 3. The Dune trilogy so far is looking like one of the best sci-fi trilogies ever created, besides maybe Star Wars. It has an even more stacked cast than Part 2. This one's gonna have some insane competition with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Both of those movies also both have Zendaya and Robert Pattinson acting in both movies, so cast is amazing. The cinematography and production design will be great as always. I'm only thinking it'll improve upon the second movie. The visual effects overall are more than likely going to be amazing. Hans Zimmer is composing the score, so you already know it's going to be incredible. The costumes, makeup, and hairstyling will all be top notch as always. But anyways, on to the next movie, that is Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is, I think, the fourth Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, Brand New Day. I'm not super excited about the director for this one because the most recent and only other Marvel movie that he has directed was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't think it was very good, but the story should be pretty good. And it's all the same writers from the other Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, and of course, they're probably drawing a lot of the story from the original comics. I have no idea if the cinematography is going to be any good. I haven't really seen any of the cinematographers work, but the actual camera operators have worked on the Wicked movies, so maybe it'll be good. That's the only guess I could make. The production design will be Marvel. Nothing really new or special, I'm predicting. The score will be pretty decent. In my opinion, Michael Giacchino is an extremely talented composer, but he doesn't necessarily like cook super hard with the Spider-Man movies, at least not as hard as when he's scoring Pixar movies, Ratatouille, Inside Out, Up, Hello, and of course the Batman, which isn't Pixar, but the Batman is also a really great score. The costumes will be very Marvel. I feel like there's a standard to Marvel that is pretty easy to predict. Everything's gonna be like really cool and sleek, but nothing like super spectacular. Next movie we have is Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu. On one hand, I'm kind of sick of the Mandalorian story. Star Wars has been so fixated on this time period around the Mandalorian since season 1 of The Mandalorian. But on the other hand, I'm actually really happy that they're making another Star Wars movie finally. They haven't put an actual Star Wars movie out since The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. Since then, they've just been making shows on Disney Plus and stuff like that. But while some of those shows have been pretty good and some of those shows have just been really bad, I'm ready for another Star Wars movie to like go to the theaters and go see. Jon Favreau is the director. His last 2 films he directed were the Lion King remake and the Jungle Book remake. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully this movie will conclude Mando's story so we can kind of move on to another time period. I'm not really expecting the story to be anything special. What I can say is there will probably be a significant amount of cameos, fan services, and Easter eggs. I also have a feeling that some character that supposedly died, or at least we thought had died in like another movie or something, is just gonna show up and have a special scene dedicated to that character and just aura farm the whole time. Just like with Marvel movies and most things from Disney nowadays, the production design for this will probably not be super original. It'll most likely aim at being nostalgic and have some different planets and biomes that they go to, but I'm kind of expecting it to feel a little cheap and maybe even soulless, just based on how a lot of the shows have felt. The visual effects might actually be pretty cool though. The soundtrack score should be pretty straightforward. It will probably have Mandalorian themes, Star Wars themes, not much else, but it will probably be pretty good since it's Ludwig Göransson doing the music, so. The costumes will also be pretty good as well. Next up, we have a movie that I'm both excited and worried about this one. This is Narnia by Greta Gerwig. On one hand, I'm really eager to see a film adaptation of The Magician's Nephew, which is supposedly what this Narnia movie is about. Both the Walden Media Narnia movies and the BBC Narnia movies both never got around to adapting The Magician's Nephew. I think in the timeline of Narnia, Magician's Nephew was first, so I'm excited that they're kind of starting here. But I'm also kind of worried, and that's mainly because of rumors I've heard from what the casting is going to look like. Supposedly, Meryl Streep was talked about being cast as Aslan. Meryl Streep is a great actress. She's really been great in a lot of other stuff. I just think it's a really bad casting decision if that's real. The production design will probably be really good. The visual effects will also be pretty good. I'm not sure if the score will be good or not. The composer, Mark Ronson, the only score that I've heard from him is from Barbie, and I actually thought that one was pretty nice. Obviously with Barbie, that movie, there was a lot less room for the score because there were so many like songs in that movie. It was kind of a musical, and there's also like a soundtrack of songs that were made for the movie. What there is of the score in that movie, I thought tied in the songs really well. So I think the score will probably be nice. And the costumes will probably be pretty great. Next up, we have The Sheep Detectives. As of filming this, the trailer just came out today, this morning. My notes that I have written are written before I saw the trailer. I was really interested to see what this one was going to look like. The way that they're doing this movie, it looks like it's kind of like reminds me of the Peter Rabbit live action movies where it's live action, but a lot of the main characters are just CGI animals. But what's interesting is that this is being directed by the guy who directed the Minions movies and Despicable Me 3. And what's also really interesting is that Craig Mazin is writing the script, and he worked on the Last of Us TV show. The cast looks super interesting. It stars Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, which both played in the X-Men movies together, so it's interesting that they're both in this together. The production design will probably be meh, not super memorable, not noteworthy, I guess. But this movie seems to be more focused on the story and the characters. So if the story is interesting enough, then like production design and stuff like that won't really matter that much. I'm not expecting the visual effects to be that good. That's what I wrote. And seeing the trailer this morning, the visual effects are fine. Again, it looks like the Peter Rabbit movie. Like Peter Rabbit was made in 2018. I'm expecting the score to be pretty playful and kind of like sneaky spy, like spy music. I don't know why. That's just a feeling that I'm getting. Based on like the genre of it being like a murder mystery, I'm kind of expecting it to be like that. I'm not expecting the score to be really that memorable though, but maybe it'll be fun. And the costumes will be mid, but this feels like a story, characters, humor focused movie. So visual effects, production design, costumes aren't really something that are super important. These last 3 movies that I'm going to mention are ones that I have less predictions for and more just like I'm really excited to see these. LarryBoy, a VeggieTales movie. This sounds amazing. It has the same director as like almost all the other iconic iconic VeggieTale movies, more like episodes. The director being Mike Naraki, I think is how you pronounce his name. The voice of Larry. So the voice of Larry is literally directing his own LarryBoy movie. But that being said, it will probably feel very similar to a lot of the other VeggieTales episodes, movies, whatever in the past, but with more like updated animation. Also, looking at the cast, supposedly the Incredible Vegetables are returning. So you already know this movie is about to be peak. Another movie that I'm super excited for in 2026 is Michael. Maybe just the teaser was just so well done and made me super interested in it. I don't know. I just think it looks really good and probably going to be great. One other movie that I'm really looking forward to is the Billie Eilish Hit Me Hard and Soft the Tour live in 3D movie directed by James Cameron and Billie Eilish. I'm just really excited to see that. But anyways, those are my predictions for 2026. What movies are you looking forward to seeing in 2026? I would love to know because there are a ton of movies coming out and a lot that I didn't mention. So let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to, what your predictions are. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.